A very good Sunday afternoon, my people. And we just got back from Costa Rica. We had a wonderful time. Today, we have a co-host, co-teacher that we will talk about soil health and gut health. But before we get there, and let's start with our part one. Part one is breathing exercise. Breathing exercise is based on Taoist longevity breathing exercise. We remember how to do that? Yeah. Your legs shoulder width, and then I want to make sure your toes are really like tree roots are deeply into the soil, into the ground, right? You have to feel your toes all look like this, really, really solid, deep into, yeah, the energy input. And then bend your knee, just gently move your arms up as if we are hugging a tree. Close your eyes and we'll breathe in. Now we know we have all those little vectors of energy points. We'll open up, breathe in as many as we can, but we'll also breathe in from our nose, out our mouth. We'll do 10 times together. Now we'll give a minute. Make sure we always drink water, warm water. Hi, here comes my co-teacher, Afu. Hi, Afu. So now we're going to do our 10 energy movements together. And some of you want me to review and says, oh, if there's one thing we should remember why we're doing that, why? So each time I will tell you a little bit, maybe the first 3 movements will tell you 1 or 2 things. And again, just to review, why are we doing that, right? So, but we will do 5 times of each movement. So this is your yin and yang, the healthy interaction between yin and yang. As lower is push the point of dantian, and that's 3 fingers below your belly button. So from the belly button to this point you're holding, that's a front golden triangle. Yeah, which we will teach you a little more. So this one is we are really strengthening the fascia, the sanjiao, the triple burner. Yeah. So if one thing we remember, the first movement, we are opening up our triple burner. This is one of the best way to do cancer prevention. So if nothing else you remember, when you are scared of something and you just do this movement. Now, the next movement, one thing to remember, you are strengthening your lungs and liver. Also decrease your stagnation in your upper, in your triple burners. And you are doing the lungs and the colon, open it up. The third one, we are balancing the whole gut system. We're balancing our basic emotions. Remember, we taught the golden triangle on the back, the spine, and also this make healthy connection for the heart system and the kidney system to the spine. Now we begin to focus on kidney and spine health more. The liver health. Brain, spine, and kidney health. That was our ugly good lungs. Now we strengthen our tendon system and we bring everything together. Now make sure we have some water. Okay, so now we will move to our discussion. You want me to start, Sarah? How is it?
I think I'd like to start by introducing Rick. Rick, if you can join us, I think you're there.
I am here. You want me to join with video, I presume?
We'd love to see your smiling face.
Yeah.
There it is. Thank you. I'd like to just begin by introducing Rick. Dr. Liu, if that's okay, unless you prefer a different platform.
Please, we are in your good hands.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. Well, I have such a long list of accomplishments, and this, of course, does not even begin to do it justice, but I'll just begin by saying that Rick received his degree in medical herbalism from the School of Natural Healing. He founded Gaia Herbs in 1987 and has gone on to found the Rick Scalzo Institute of Botanical Research, Earth Renewable Technologies, which is developing plant-based packaging solutions. He's founded Costa Rica Medicinal Farms, as well as Life Regenerated Herbal Products. He's received an honorary doctorate in naturopathic medicine from Sonoran University of Health Sciences. And really, I think that just scratches the surface. So we're so happy to have him here today to join Dr. Liu for a spirited discussion about things they are both very passionate about. So Dr. Liu, if you would like to take it from here, and then I will do my best to moderate.
So most importantly, Rick is our people. So, so we will just because in monastery, our tradition is to do this farming. Is what we care about really is that the health of the soil, the health of our land. So I think that tradition has been on for generations after generations. So I'm very, very pleased and happy to see now different people from different regions. We have similar methods, similar ideas, and similar philosophies. So we'll start by saying, why is so important the soil health? What is soil health? Why is so important?
Actually, Dr. Liu, if I may interject, and forgive me, I hope I'm not overstepping here your thought process, but I think if we started with what is regenerative farming as sort of a big umbrella topic, and then we can tackle the soil health as a piece of that. Or Rick, however you think, and Dr. Liu, you think in terms of, making the connections.
I think it's right on.
Well, shall I start, Sarah?
That would be great.
Yeah, so we've been in our world of healthy seeking individuals, we've been approaching our lives with our food and our nutrition, and perhaps for those of us that grow our own food through organic practices. And over the years, the organic, movement has grown to become quite dynamic. However, over the years also, the agrochemical methods of farming have not been contributing to our health and wellness, and this constitutes the bigger part of where our food products come from. So now the concept of, well, what have these agrochemicals done to our soils? And a short answer to that is they've really they've damaged to a large extent the microbiome of the soils. So the question is about, well, what is regenerative farming? Regenerative farming is a practice where we're now rehabilitating the soil structure and more specifically, the microbiome of the soil. So having said that, we need to ask the question, what is the microbiome of the soil? And essentially it's an accumulation of trillions, about 40 trillion type of microorganisms that reside in the primary groups or classes of microorganisms that reside are the fungi, the bacteria, the protozoa, and the nematodes. And there are other types of groups that reside in the soil of microorganisms, but those are the four that are building up and breaking down. And what I mean by building up and breaking down, they are building up the soil structure, they are building up the soil nutrition, they are building up the soil integrity, so that when there are adverse events in weather, such as heavy rainfalls, erosion, disruption of the soil, like excessive amounts of tilling of the soil, the microorganisms are there to rebuild. Now, what nourishes the microorganisms in the soil is the decaying matter, the material that's breaking down, and that becomes the fuel, the sugar, the carbohydrates that these organisms need to actually function. And when I said that one of the roles of these microorganisms is to break down, what I mean by that is that they are breaking down the toxins in the soil, the agrochemicals in the soil, the disruptors in the soil that have been put there largely by man. So it's interesting when we look at the soil microbiome, there are similarities of what's going on in terms of the dynamism. This is a world of very interactive dynamism, whereas these organisms are living within a network, and it's an intelligent network. In other words, silently, in their own unique ways, they are communicating amongst each other. And they are interacting with the plant to enable the plant to take up nutrients. And that's the link, that's the conduit for our bodies and our gut ecology and the wellness and immunity of our bodies, is what is the plant doing for us with its interaction with the soil. Unfortunately, if we're not buying food that has been regenerative grown, it's perhaps a hit or miss whether or not we're actually benefiting from enhanced biodiversity. So we want to find a way of regenerating our soils, participating in regenerative agriculture, which is simply a way of rebuilding the microbiome of the soils. And then that leads us to the discussion of what is the connection between this biome that we are kind of participating in and our own internal biome, the gut microbiome, which includes, the upper GI system and the lower GI system. And the biome isn't kind of confined there. It's in our nasal membranes, it's in our eyes, our throat, it's under our armpits. We have a myriad of bacteria. And unfortunately, a lot of this diversity that exists in nature is, it's been lost to us. So we, over the years, as we've consumed foods that have been grown with agrochemicals, we've lost a lot of our connection points to nature because we've lost connection to those microorganisms. So our opportunity now is to get informed, learn about regenerative agriculture and how we can participate and perhaps grow, if we have gardens, begin to understand how to grow our fruits and vegetables in a regenerative practice. So I'm going to pause there and let Dr. Liu speak, and perhaps we can have a dialogue and talk about this connection a little bit more.
So what we keep telling people is that, please, the connection we have with nature is not just we connect with nature, but rather we are a part of it, right? We are a part of nature. So if we want to keep ourselves well, it is essential for us to keep the earth well, to keep the soil, the health of the soil well. So that connection is real, right? That connection is real. So in traditional Chinese medicine, and we said regeneration of the body is we have billions of cells that regenerates constantly, right? The connection, that regeneration, this concept that happens constantly. So I think that one of the things that we want people to be mindful is that to, first of all, to know there's a connection, and eventually to see it, and then to feel it, and then to say there are ways that we can do to rebuild our gut, to rebuild soil. That really is why we are introducing again and again and again these concepts.
You know, Dr. Liu, we don't typically talk about the immunity of the soil, but it is a very real thing. And when the soil loses its diversity of microorganisms, it loses a vast amount of immunity. That means that the foods, the plants that are growing in the soil lose a vast amount of immunity. And this is when our plants suffer from diseases, or they don't access nutrients properly. And so, you know, our plants are becoming, our foods are becoming more and more devitalized and lack the immunity that is necessary to convey vitality into our body and to convey the corresponding diversity into our gut ecology. So you know, for me, this is a fundamental criteria for wellness, is to restore this connection, to restore this wisdom of nature, the outer nature and the inner nature, you know, to bring these two natures, which are really the same nature, but to connect them in a way that benefits our well-being.
So I always remember that everything we need, our body know how to get it. If we have less stagnation, less toxins, less inflammation, then together we can build up a healthier gut system. What is a gut system in traditional Chinese medicine? That really is that long tube from the moment you chew to the moment you poop, right? The triple burner play a very important role. So what is the upper burner? The upper burner is your heart system and your lungs. The middle burner, that's your liver system, your stomach, and your spleen. The lower burner, that is your intestines. So in our clinic, you often hear me asking, right? It's quite interesting because Huang Di's teacher said, he said, well, there are three must asks of one a healer, one a doctor, one a healer enter a new place. If it's a new country, you ask, may I ask what's the customs here, so I shall follow properly. When you enter a family, you say, may I ask what's the rules and disciplines here, so I may follow properly. And when you see a new patient, and one must ask is, may I ask how you poop? So tell me the shape of your poop and tell me, but why? Because from this, remember we said the heart and small intestines, they are a pair. The lungs and large intestines, they are a pair. One does well, the other will do well. So by asking, so tell me how you poop, what is your urine, what is your pooping, right? I am not only to ask what's happened in your lower burner, right? That's your intestines, which is also very important. But I'm also asking, how's your heart doing? How's your lungs doing? And vice versa. And you see, very interestingly, the bladder system and the kidney system is reside in the lower burner. It's like a power plant, right? It's the finest filter system, and also that's Mingmen. Mingmen is the power plant. That is Jing. That is the best bit of our energy that sides in lower burner. So all these things happened in your gut that powers up that power plant for you. So that's how important that is. Think about if things we take, right? We take in those nutrients that the plants, the animal products, rice and all this, they have that pure energy supposedly if we don't abuse them, if we don't use chemicals, if we don't plant it without love, right? If we don't do with love, if we don't do any of that, then the product, it becomes not alive, they're dead. So there's no energy in those things. And then what are you, then you are not enjoying your food. Then of course, a lot of people, especially in modern culture, they don't see food as something they love and enjoy and make them so joyful and happy. They feel that they're just there to, I don't know, just to keep them alive. So then how would that, what would that do to your immune system, to your overall health?
You know, correlation in soil. We see this happening when toxins accumulate in soil. You ask the question, well, how is the soil structure eliminating those toxins? Well, basically, it is because of the microorganisms in our soil that the soil is capable of benefiting from the decomposition of these toxins. So we don't necessarily refer to the term eliminate the toxins from the soil, although the decomposition of those toxins is a way of not just decomposing them, but enabling the transformation of them. Because if they don't decompose, the soil is going to become stagnant. And as you always say, Dr. Liu, when there is stagnation in nature, there is stagnation in our soils now. And when there is stagnation, you will always see a collection of excess water, excess dampness in nature. And I'll let you talk about the implications of that if you want to, but because it directly affects the gut system. But the correlation is when you have that dampness, you have the beginning of disease taking place in the soils and, you know, in those areas that are just stagnant. So what's happening is a change in the microbiology of nature. And when we don't cooperate and collaborate with this amazing life, all the hyphae and mycelia and mycorrhiza that are in the soil are working to our benefit to make us whole and to enable us to make those connections within our body that keeps us healthy.
So remember, we always says, you know, when people have dampness in their spleen system, and we always says, well, we really have to help you to reduce the dampness, because the dampness really is, then you, well, lately we've seen a lot of what I call COVID blood. It's a lot of dampness, not just in the body fluid, but also in the blood system, right? That really cause a lot of imbalances and illnesses. So when you see dampness in the soil, and then you try to correct that. When we see dampness in our system, and we really need to jump on and correct that as well. So Sarah, if you want to stop us anytime, because we can talk about this forever. So let people ask questions and please feel free to do so.
That sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Liu.
Mhm.
Rick, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the sustainability aspect of regenerative farming versus sort of conventional. What does that do for the environment? What does it do for the longevity of us as a species?
Right.
It seems with, you know, that there's less intervention that's required, whereas you're providing so much more life, you're putting so much more life back in the soil. I'm wondering if you can talk about the long-term effects of that.
Yeah. So one of the first principles of regenerative farming is, for most of the listeners here, we might be talking about regenerative gardening, but one of the foremost principles is never leave your soil naked. That means, you know, when you have your soil exposed to the elements, it's going to begin to break down, and all of the population of your microorganisms. A big component of regenerative agriculture is no-till. So the idea of no-till is to have something covering your soil at all the time, whether it be a cover crop of some sort that's suitable to your environment. Here in Costa Rica, we have several selections of great cover crops that we use that are rotational crops or companion crops with our medicinal crops that we grow. So that's important. And the other thing about regenerative agriculture is you can use things like compost tea, and different types of nutrient preparations. I'm not an advocate of adding fertilizers, whether they're organic, even if they're organic. I'm not an advocate of that. I'm an advocate of rebuilding the integrity of the soil, of the microorganisms of soil, because our soils in most places have adequate nutrition, but for some reason, and we know now why, the plants can't access that nutrition properly. So it's a very sustainable practice, Sarah. And when you think about the bigger implication of it, and this is a fact, that if we grow regeneratively on this planet, we can sequester all of the carbon that's causing this terrible climate change right now. Just regenerative agriculture alone can sequester all this extraneous carbon. So for that reason, you know, it's worth participating in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. Mhm.
Absolutely. That's really amazing. You know, you mentioned.
And one thing I want to tell our people is that, well, we're going to get some really fantastic turmeric powder from Rick's farm. And then we're going to have all of our people will have access to this beautiful turmeric, because you know we can get our huangqin is one of our herbs we use quite often. We use quite a lot from that farm already, and we can get sweet anise and qinghao, and then we can get our ganjiang, that's ginger, turmeric, and because you can't get, this is so just, the turmeric rice we made in Costa Rica was so delicious. So now I'm talking about food, you know me, right? So stay tuned, people, and we're getting turmeric. And once we have that, I will let you all know. We will make some turmeric drinks. We'll make some turmeric rice together, and turmeric chicken. That's delicious. Sarah, I just can't help.
I am delighted to hear that. Rick, I'd like to go back to you. You mentioned just really briefly the notion of composting. And before we get into that, I guess for you, Rick and Dr. Liu, this is just amazing information. And I'm sure we could talk, for hours more, but sort of the applicability of our daily lives. Can you talk a little bit about what we can do in our daily lives to contribute to, really support this movement, even though we're not out on the fields with you, Rick?
Yeah, and it is quite a fast growing movement right now, but I don't like the use of that term movement, but it's growing so fast in popularity. I will tell all of the viewers here that there is sort of if you go online and if you search Soil Food Web, Dr. Elaine Ingham, Soil Food Web is enough. You can search, you can learn all about regenerative agriculture and all about the story of the microbiome of the soil. And so I think this is one thing. The first thing we can do is get informed and begin to share our enthusiasm about the whole regenerative process amongst each other. So that's the narrative that we must first get informed and then begin to share that narrative with others so others get informed. And secondly, the next thing we can do is ask for regenerative foods in our stores. More and more farms, organic farms, are beginning to convert to regenerative agriculture. So what does that mean for you and me who consume these foods? It means that our foods are going to contain more nutrients, more phytochemicals, which are so important for our well-being, and more of the gut, of the microorganisms that will feed and nourish our gut. So we can ask for those foods as stores are carrying them more and more. And if any of the viewers have their own gardens, certainly go online to Soil Food Web website and learn how to regenerate your soil, even if it's a very small garden. And simple techniques can regenerate your soil with, like you said, Sarah, with compost tea, and if you have compacted soil, finding ways to add components to your soil that aerate the soil, that oxygenate the soil more. And so these are simple things you can do, but they're very powerful things.
So, and then I think that when summer comes and we're going to do another garden walk, because my garden is a regenerative garden and we do a lot of compost here. And I'm not an expert myself, but I have people like Rick, and I have some really great gardeners here, and like David, and they can do some class, right? And we can teach you how to do compost properly, or you can share if you are a compost expert and share with us and how you do it, and we can, but this is really the mindfulness really is the key, right? And so the concept, if we said, well, this is us, right, then we begin to say, well, this is what we can do in a very small way, right, but important way, to start composting our food, our soil, and to have a compost pile, and do it step by step. So there's no need to get frustrated, to say, oh, I don't know how to do it. Just do it. We'll teach you step by step. And then the other thing is, when people says, well, but organic food is very expensive, I can't afford all just buy organic food, what I do, then you budget yourself. You do 1 or 2 items at a time, right? And then don't get then you're not going to ruin yourself by doing that. But make sure you watch the labels to say, well, today I say no to junk food. I say no to genetically modified food. I say no to, I just, we'll do it step by step. And today, when you pass that McDonald's, you just pass it and say, goodbye, I'm not going in. My kids are not going in. people I know will not go in. So then in a way, then you say, hey, look, I'm just going to just get several healthy items and make a healthy meal. And that's worth spending the money, worth spending the time, worth spending the energy. We'll just do it step by step, do it gradually. And next time when your neighbor and show you the Roundup and you run, you say, no, put that away. That is a crime. So in that way, if we do it step by step, then before we know it, and we will be the positive butterflies. When we shake our wings, the world will change. That's always needed. That's always needed.
Yeah. It's needed and it's necessary.
If we won't have a future together, yes.
Did you know that the way foods have evolved with monocropping, and with monocropping comes agrochemicals and oftentimes glyphosate. And do you know that glyphosate can be detected in every state in the US now, and that it actually can be and is detected in rainwater that falls upon us? So I think for this reason, we are confronting not just an opportunity, but an extreme need to to change the patterns of where and how our foods are grown and where they come from. And I am with you, Dr. Lu. I prefer to, take action and stay on the positive side of the matter, but we can do it. And we can confront climate change, and we can confront the rebuilding of our gut ecology. It's an opportunity that's vast and it's right in front of us, and we just have to grasp it and embrace it and be a part of the solution.
Yes. Yes. And then make sure that, when you say, oh, if we need some herbs, and you're covered, because we do care about these things, right? Because the things we give you, they are as good as you can get.
Yeah.
So make sure that you drink your warm water. Make sure next time, make sure you go to farmers market. Make sure you chat with farmers. Make sure you ask them how they do. And just all these things that matters, all these things that can change. If we begin to change, the world will change with us in a positive way. And many of you have children that teach them. When we say we love children, what does that mean? It means we want to give them something is more pure than this generation. So that is it doesn't matter if you leave them money, because that it won't work. What you leave them is the way of life, is how to take care of the earth, and in turn the earth will take care of you. And if it's anything that have this concept and do a little bit more research and take small action.
Just a really quick question before closing thoughts here. Rick, I'm wondering, is this much more costly to do, this idea of regenerative farming?
No, it's not. In fact, it's probably at the end of the day, because you're not dealing with fertilizers or agrochemicals, the cost to pursue regenerative farming or gardening or participate is actually much less. You're basically using cover crops, you're no-tilling, you're basically you can make your own teas, compost teas. It's really, not that complicated. And, so the practices are quite simple, and the costs are quite low, but the benefits are vast.
I really love the idea
And-
of, sorry, Rick, go ahead.
And when I think downstream from that, think of the cost that we get, the burden, how much burdened we are, the cost of healthcare, trying to manage diseases that are born out of improper nutrition and agrochemical grown foods. They're contributing to a tremendous amount of costs that we bear the burden of for our healthcare. And so, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, this is a no-brainer, isn't it? Because you're cleaning up the environment, you're cleaning up your gut, you're lowering your economic burden of healthcare, and you're sequestering carbon. You're doing so many things with one practice. So I love it.
It's like Chinese medicine, Dr. Liu.
Yes, yes, precisely. You take care of yourself, you take care of nature, you take care of soil, and you will be taken care of. Because the return, we are all talk about the return is massive.
Yeah.
The return is massive, right? So then just talk to yourself, talk to your neighbors, and start doing a little bit of compost. When people come and says, well, what are you doing? You tell them why. You tell them we are regenerating soil, we are regenerating humidity. That's what we're doing.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Liu. And Rick, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
You're welcome.
It's really a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Liu, for creating the time and space.
You are really welcome, and thank you, Rick. And like I said, people stay tuned. Turmerics are coming.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Rick.
You are welcome.
Rick, Sarah,
Thank
and
you.
Dr. Liu, thank you. What a blessing.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
This was fabulous. Thank you so much, Dr. Liu. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sarah.
You.
Hi, Lila. Yes. Now, Lila wants to know. Yeah, I know. Well, you want to see Rick, Lila?
Aw, I bet all the pets are happy to have you back.
Yes, they are. They
Yeah.
are.
Of course.
They are. So thank you so much, Rick. So we
You are
will,
welcome.
we'll text each other soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr.
Mhm,
Liu. Stay warm, and
We have power again.
all right. Very good. All right, we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Rick.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.